Let's engage our guest. Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako is a concerned citizen. Engineer Abdulai Mahama is a civil engineer. He's a roads and building consultant. Now, if you like, gentlemen, good morning, by the way. Good morning to you both. Thank you for your time.
Good morning to you.
Now, I'm looking at getting your preliminary comments, just briefly. So let's use this time to set down some definitions, if you like. Engineer Mahama, what exactly causes a pothole to appear on a road?
Well, I'll say a good morning to your cherished listeners. And before I just mentioned, I just want to say a thank you to Multimedia for the wonderful eagle eye jobs you are doing in very pertinent or very important issues across the country. My mood is down a bit because I just finished watching some of your news on the Galamsey, and it's really dampening my spirit. And then when I get this one, pothole patching, pothole issues again, it looks like we are failing in all the aspects that we expect government to do much better. Pothole patching or potholes is like depression on our roads. Let's say you have a certain smooth road that has been constructed, and you start to have differential settlement or depression that brings about exposure or removal of the bituminous substances, making, depending on the nature of how you want to describe the pothole according to our standards, reducing the riding quality and greatly impacting on the distance travel of commuters on those particular stretch of roads identified or used occasionally or periodically.
Right.
So I think that when I just flow, maybe you have to just guide me. Otherwise, I'll just continue with it.
Sure, that's a really good definition for us to work with. Now, just one quick thing before I bring in Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako. If a road is constructed properly, will potholes appear on it?
Yes, we can have potholes appear on a very good road due to external factors. And a vehicle may develop a fault. And I've been fighting some of these vehicles every now and then. You may have a very compacted road, well sealed. Let me use some of these trunk roads. A vehicle with a certain expected weight get a tire damaged. And instead of the driver actually parking off the road and then working on the tire, they drive quite a distance, having their wheel, the rim, actually cutting through the road before they stop at the time that they cannot actually move again. Secondly, you would have a driver who will be checking the car on the road without providing a bigger platform under the jack. That's something we call punching. You see, just take the nail as an example. One part of the nail is so sharp, and the other side has a certain brace. So that's where the hammer hits to pierce through any metal or any wood or anything you are trying to use the nail through. So you see that when you turn the wider part of the nail and you try to punch it onto the wood, it takes a lot of time before. In fact, it's very difficult to pierce through the wood. Right. But when you use the other side, the pointed side, you get that smooth entrance or entry into the wood. Now, it's the same analogy. When you are jacking a very big vehicle on the road and your jack, the area of your jack is too small, sometimes because depending on the weight of the truck, you see that instead of the car being jacked up, it's the reverse. So you start to have this pointing onto. That's why some of these cargo trucks and other Kia or weighted cars have a certain wood in the car. So before they jack on the road, they place this wood and then they put a jack on it and then jack the vehicle so that you have a wider area. The wider your area, the less the punching into the soil. So these are some of the education that we give to them every now and then when we come into contact with some of these drivers and who do that. And then the other one is you having debris. Let's say you have a road which is a low-lying area with adjoining lands higher than the road.
Right.
Now, when this material or the gravel from the adjoining land get onto the road, they're actually laying on the pavement or the surface that has been done. Then there's something called abrasion. The vehicle that stand on it before the cars move. That quick start of the vehicle, that the screeching sound of young guys who sometimes want to move that sound.
Yes.
So you aid the removal of this light bituminous surface that is actually capping the gravel from having intrusion of water into them. And once you get these small potholes or this small hole that's been created, and then the ingress of water starts, then the compaction of the material is undermined. Then you start to have these exponential potholes or depressions on this. So I think I'll let your gentleman come in.
So I mean,
go more into the technical aspect.
The thing I'm picking up from your answer is that if a road is properly constructed, it is only negative human activity upon that road that will cause a pothole.
Mostly.
Okay.
The roads are designed for a certain design lifespan.
Right.
Let me say an asphalt binder concrete is mostly designed 15 years, 20 years, depending on the volume of traffic and possibly sometimes the amount of money that the client is ready to actually use in the construction. So it's okay. I want to do from Joy FM to maybe Circle, and I want to do a design. I want you to give me a design of a 15-year design asphalt road construction. So the road, even though it's properly designed, it will go through an oxidation process. The bitumen experiences cold and hot weather. When we're in the rainy season, there's a lot of contraction. That's why it's obvious to see some cracks, alligator cracks on the road when we're in the rainy season. Sometimes in the extreme heat conditions, because there's a bituminous substance within the material that has been used, there's an expansion, so it fills all the voids. So mostly in the hot season, you don't see. But the road will go through this process of oxidization and contraction. So within the 15-year design lifespan, the road begins to fail because, let me use an example like asphalt. There's a certain percentage of air, what we call the air voids. Now, the air that is actually designed to be part of the asphalt is supposed to allow the road to breathe. So, and if a vehicle goes across that road, the asphalt, the road comes back to its shape, but you cannot see with the eye. Right. So, after a certain duration, let's say maybe we have 15 years for the road to actually be looked at. By the 8th, 10th year, the air voids which are actually entrapped in the asphalt, which help the road to breathe, is more or less like mostly is about 3.5 to 5%. Okay. Now, if it goes below the 3.5, the road does not breathe again. That's why you start to see a lot of alligator cracks. So you look at the back of the alligator. That's why we give the name. You see that alligator cracks on the surface. Yeah. That is the time that government, if there's so much fun, would have to quickly start to do what we call maybe revisiting the project and then doing some overlay. Okay. When the various tests conducted indicate that the road is now fatigued. Okay. And it needs it. So the road can go through its own process. I mean, the normal process, but it will fail after some time. It doesn't necessarily mean that the road has been bad, but within the nature of life, just like you have life.
I don't want us to go into too much detail, Engineer Mahama. This is just preliminary comments. So we will get more detail in a short while, if you don't mind. I want to very quickly touch base with Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako. Generally, there is a very real cost to society of these potholes. If you can give us a quick summary in a couple of minutes of exactly the different ways in which the existence of potholes on our roads cost society.
Okay, thank you, Kojo. So in summary, you can look at it from the angle of loss of productivity. And you can look at the additional fuel consumption of vehicles as a result of the traffic that these potholes cause. You can look at vehicle maintenance directly as a result of vehicles having to drive through these potholes. You look at road accidents, which cost lives, and the additional cost to families. And I mean, you can have the multiplier effect of accidents analyzed in detail. You can look at health-wise. I mean, the physical body pain, the tiredness, the stress that we all go through as a result of staying long in traffic. Last night, after I published an article on potholes, somebody got in touch and we were chatting. He spends 6 hours a day, I mean, commuting to and from work. Now, you can imagine the stress, the tiredness, and the bodily pains that, a person goes through, which directly affects your health. And then, of course, if it affects your health, it means it affects your pocket as well. Yeah. Now, you can also look at even emergency services having to struggle to reach people who need, say an ambulance, for instance, or fire tender struggling to get to the destination. By the time it gets there, whatever emergency would have already caused whatever maximum damage. So these are angles we need to look at it from. But these are you can quantify all of these to the last dollar, because they are real and they cost real money to real people. Yeah. Because people are spending more on fuel, people are losing productivity worth millions of dollars a year as a result of potholes. So we can go into details, but just a quick one to touch on, the question you asked, Engineer Mahama. Generally, from his answers, if the road is well constructed, then you expect it to last longer before you see all these potholes. My experience in Accra is that a number of roads that are constructed, some of them even 6 months after construction, you see potholes. 2 years, you see potholes. Look, I've been to a place in the UK, Ross-on-Wye in Herefordshire. The road from Ross-on-Wye to Cobre Farm, I was told at the time, had lasted 100 years. And yet that road was motorable without potholes. If you go to the US, they talk about built to last. Built to last, at least they are looking at 25 years. The question is, why is it that all these places, they use the same technology? The education Engineer Mahama is giving us, they factor all of this into the construction of their roads. Why is it that their roads last much, much longer than our own roads?
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. We're certainly going to try and analyze what causes potholes on Ghanaian roads, why we don't maintain them, why we don't fix them, the economics of it, and indeed the impact that it is having on you and I. But most importantly, what we can do about it. Now, this is all part of the Ghana Pothole Exhibition. It's a Joy News initiative. We're using the hashtag GHPotholes to share pictures and videos of potholes in your area. So get in on the trend, share pictures and videos of your potholes. If it's a video, we'd love the commentary, the explanation of how it feels to drive through these potholes, the descriptions of the potholes. We want you to go as creative as you can with them. We're going to share them so that it will have a huge audience. So please give us your very, very best shots. And by the way, the first report under the Ghana Pothole Exhibition is what we're about to share with you. You need to watch the video. So go to Facebook Live or our YouTube channel. We're going to play the video at the same time as we play this on radio. Here it is, the Ghana Pothole Exhibition. Much as it is the role of the media to scrutinize government, it is also important for the press to give them credit for their achievements. Now, one particular achievement for which the press has failed woefully in an unjust, unfair, and unsportsmanlike manner to give government credit for is this: our potholes.
Yes, sir. They be
Just look at them. Deep, wide, jagged-edged moon craters peppered artistically across the asphalt canvas of our national road network, turning 10-minute journeys into 50-minute torture sessions, wreaking almost as much havoc on your spine as your shock absorbers. Yes, Ghana's potholes are one of the uncelebrated triumphs of leadership for which our government must not only be lauded, but applauded.
Now, what most people don't realize is that these monstrous death traps are not actually signs of the incompetence of our government supervisory bodies. They don't point to any lack of skill on the part of our road contractors. No, these are actually clear evidence of the unmitigated success of some of government's top flagship programs.
Which programs, I hear you ask? For the answer to that profound question, we must take a closer look.
Look at this one. Mid-sized, quite deep, shaped like some sort of asphalt amoeba. To you, this is an accident waiting to happen. But to the government, this is perfect for planting corn.
Yes, sir. Debbie, Nasu Debbie, Pepper, Debbie,
And it's not just good for planting corn. Potholes are perfect for rice plantation,
Ghana for there are some to asem. I say when tea will be ready my tem.
tomatoes,
Things need to be said and ten can
even cocoa.
As the rainy season approaches, the true value of these potholes becomes apparent. They are perfect for a farmer in planting for food and jobs.
So there you have it. If you have ever wondered why some of these potholes you see on virtually every road in this country of ours never get fixed, well, now you know.
And that is not the only flagship program that government is delivering to rip-roaring success with these cherished and beloved potholes. There is also one village, one dam. Just think of the irrigation potential for the planting for food and jobs project we saw earlier.
And we're still not done. Look at this. Look at the deadly jagged edge of this particular beauty, shaped like the fangs of a village witch. Now, let's measure the depth. What do you think happens when your car hits this pothole at speed? Obviously, you immediately need spare parts. After a few encounters, a whole new car. If government is able to maintain a few of these widow-making potholes across the country, just think of what it will do for the automotive industry. One district, one factory.
So the next time you feel like throwing your hands up in despair at the state of our roads, the next time you wonder why government keeps throwing money at incompetent contractors to construct roads which after 3 months will break out in potholes like a prepubescent teenager's face breaks out in pimples, just remember that these are the evidence of your government's stellar performance. Why would they cover them up? Reporting from Ahaya Kwahu, my name is Kojo Yankson. Hashtag GH potholes. Send through your pictures and videos of those potholes that have become the bane of your existence in your areas, on your way to work, wherever they are. We want to see them, we want to hear about them, we want to share them with the world. Hashtag GH potholes. It's the Ghana Pothole Exhibition. It's a Joy News initiative. We are taking a very different approach to the conversation about potholes. We're taking a satirical approach. We're framing them. We're framing the important issue using satire and humor. But of course, if they will not fix the potholes, we will display them. All right, our guests, Engineer Mahama and Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako, helping us get to the bottom of some of these issues. Now, Engineer Mahama, the presence of potholes completely deteriorates and devalues a road.
Yeah.
The motorway is a typical example. Built with concrete, an example, a perfect example of a properly constructed road. Other countries even came here to learn how we did it. Today, when you drive across the surface of that road, does it still qualify to be technically described as a motorway?
No. I think over the past few years, we have actually shut down that name or the idea that we still have any express road or a motorway in Ghana. A road that has actually defined the speed limit of drivers instead of the other way around cannot be described as a motorway. But I must be quick to add that last 3 weeks I used the motorway, I think about a month ago. And I remember there was a time you interviewed and I said we should transfer our brains to our right legs so that we'll know how to speed on the motorway. We are complaining that the motorway is not good. Obviously, any driver who is driving and sees through this windscreen knows that the road is not too good. But ironically or surprisingly, when I was doing about 60, 70, 80, I saw vehicles which were speeding with the speed of light, doing over 120, knowing that the motorway was bad. These are both commercial vehicles that I know that they use the road every day. So we know the road is not good. I mean, Joy FM has sustained this over the past 6, 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. About 6, 7 years, it's been like a campaign that I've been on every time with your good self. So in as much I'm just trying to talk about the fact that the motorway does not exist to be, it doesn't have the name to describe it anymore. We, the drivers on that road, have to apply the basic road ethics to be able to do within the 60, 70. What the road is now telling us to do must be obeyed until government comes in to repair the motorway or to reconstruct the motorway. Right. I have to say this. My senior who taught me, may so rest in peace, he was from the state. He never liked speed humps on our roads. But, you know, the behavioral pattern of our drivers, and this one, both commercial and then private drivers, sometimes brings about the community suddenly jumping onto the roads to provide unapproved speed drums using clay or any substance that they come across. Now you can see that they are using this kind of thick rope that they actually use at the harbor for these ships that we have. But when you provide 10 speed humps or speed drums within a very short distance, you are exponentially increasing the potholes because the sudden application of brake going across the speed drum and the sudden initiation of the speed, if the road is not a paved or is not a concrete road, this creates of sudden brake and sudden speed at both approaches of the speed drums would start to generate the differential or this small depressed areas, and they start to have these potholes. Right. That's why you see 10 speed drums in a short community, and at 30 meters at both sides of the speed drum has the potholes. And then if you have 10 of these at close proximity to each other, that means the road will go bad. So one of my solutions or my suggestions to that is that when it becomes necessary that we should have these speed drums within the community, the first 30 meters of both sides of the approach of the speed drum must be a concrete or pavement blocks, so that no matter the screeching or the sudden stoppage, they are placed because of the rigidity of the pavement. You won't have these potholes. What brings about this pothole is because even though we have in some instances, adequately provided information to the driver, you are approaching a community, you are approaching a town. This speed drums at 50 meters, the one at the 30 meter before you get to the town is not adhered to. Right. So even though some of the roads are supposed to have a smooth riding quality, we are compelled, or let me say the Ministry of Roads and Highways, the Urban Roads, the Department of Urban Roads and Federal Roads are compelled to provide an ad hoc, something that was not thought through in the design. Because ordinarily, if a driver is supposed to follow the speed drum or the speed limit within a community, there will not be any need for knockdowns or a speed drum because of lack of. There will not be any knockdown because the driver is following the laid down informations that are actually visible to him, but we ignore, and this brings about some of the major potholes within communities which are having a black spot. In terms of engineering description, when you say the black spot, there are areas which are potential. I have a records of accidents occurring almost every now and then. Right. Now, the bits that I've seen, you get to our towns, and some of our MPs are compelled to repair potholes. I have come across few of these repairs. People go in to repair the pothole, and rather after 2 months, they aggravate the situation. Because you will see MPs, or let me say DCs, trying to actually remedy the situation. And in doing so, when they engage their own constituents so that at least, trying to make sure that at least we are getting job for our people. Pothole patching is a specialized engineering, component, where you even need people who sometimes do not necessarily just do road construction, but they are specialized in the mitigation of pothole patching. Now, these people go into the community, they take any debris or any soil around the area, and then actually spread it onto the existing road, and then either put the quota or put this asphalt that they have already prepared in the care. Now, you have actually contaminated the otherwise very good subgrade material with a clay, which will absorb a lot of water. And then when you do this pothole patching and you tar the surface, you start to have this exponential deterioration of the road. Number two, some potholes might be very, very minimal, like your documentary. Others are so deep. So if they are so small, like say 2 cm or 3 cm thick, that's like the length of your fingernail. Mm-hmm. You cannot come and put in sand and compact and then spread the bitumen on it. It will not bond. So once you have actually disturbed down the one existing, and you come and put this small laterite with that small thickness, you need a certain thickness, maybe from 55 cm to about 10 cm before the road will bond. So these are all the things that we observe in the country. As long as we are doing this discussion, we should also be able to sensitize our communities that they should be able to be more information. I mean, they should get more information from whoever is undertaking pothole patching within their community, because I have seen a lot of them that has rather worsened the situation after they were done because they were not properly thought through. Mm-hmm. Now, you see the telcos, or let me say the service providers, when you get to Kaokudi Junction, just when you are coming from the Accra enclave, you are moving toward the 37 area, just after the traffic light, see the bumps you see there. I came across service providers cutting the road to repair a service line. I don't know, because if they engage the Department of Urban Roads, they would adequately give them information about, how maybe one of the engineers supervising how it should be cut, the area you need to cut before you come in, and then do the various layer compacting, and then you cut the road anyway, or you patch the road. Just around the Elwak, when you're moving towards Cantonment, at the same traffic light, a similar one has been there. I think that one is Ghana Water Company Limited, cutting across the road and now dumping pavement blocks as a solution to the problem. These are institutions. So if we don't have this interconnectivity of institutions from the Ministry of Energy down to the ECG, Ghana Water Company, from the local government ministry or Works and Housing, actually, having a discussion with the Ministry of Roads and Highways in repairing their pipes or their service mains, these issues of riding quality that brings about these potholes would continue. And before you do that, if the engineers at the ministry are told that A, B, and C are happening, we should be quick to ask ourselves, why do we still have water lines running parallel in the carriageway of our roads? When you get to, example, Adeso to Nsawam Road, there are some areas that almost every 2 months, the GWCL come to cut the main road and then repair their pipes and abandon the site. These are bigger cause for worry in terms of generation of potholes on our roads. So with all this, there should be a synchronization between all the ministries, and then the law has to be enforced that from the 20th century or 21st century, any road that is being constructed should not have any service line mains passing through either across or along inside the road without providing adequate what we call pipe ducts. Now, these pipe ducts are like the small culverts which will sleeve all these service lines through them, so that in case there's any damage, you don't come and cut the road, but you just sleeve out this, open these chambers, and you do your repairs under the road. These are not being done. So all these are contributing significantly to the destruction of our road. Now, my colleague stated something about the roads that he saw in UK and US. And you also augmented by saying that some roads in Accra stay within 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and they go off. Now, let me give you one of the technical aspects I know about that one. You know, when you are doing the road like the Ebri one that I did in 2004, it is called a surface dress road. Now, the surface dress road has sometimes three layers. After you are done with the gravel work, the last gravel work, you do what we call the primer. And now the primer is like a transition between the gravel and the bituminous surface. Now that primer is so thin that it cannot stay beyond 3 months. Now in the event where a contractor is constructing this road, and at that stage he's done with the primer and he raises concern for non-payment of his IPCs, and justifiably so he leaves the site, the layman wouldn't understand that that road has not been completed once he has seen bitumen and chippings on it. That is just a primer. And that one, no matter how good your design is, it will go off within 2-3 months, or even sometimes within 1 month when the rains come on it. So we should also make sure that we explain to the citizenry what kind of road we have done and at what stage are we, so that nobody will just say that this road was done about 3 months ago and it's gone bad. Because if the second seal and the third seal is actually put on it within the stipulated time, the road would last. So at a point in time, it's not only that the contractor is doing a bad work, but he may have stopped the work because of the reason I cited, that non-payment of certificate or lack of cash flow on the road.
Right. So that's a very important point. That sometimes potholes are appearing just because the actual work was never completed.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now let me bring in Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako, and I guess now we can go into the detail of the impact of potholes on our lives, because your article really breaks it down. Now, I'd love for you to walk us through it.
Okay. Thank you, Kojo. So, if you take an individual who, for the purpose of this discussion, earns $3,000 per month, you can convert it into cedis. But I wrote this article back in 2012, so over 10 years ago. Now, that person wastes 30 minutes per day in traffic as a result of potholes. And I use my personal experience on the Adenta Dodowa Road all the way to Osu, where I used to work at the time, to do this analysis. It means that per year, the loss of productivity will amount to over $2,200. Now, assuming you have just 100,000 Ghanaians who earn that much and who experience 30 minutes per day in traffic as a result of potholes, you are looking at $228 million that we lose by way of productivity for just 100,000 Ghanaians. Wow. Now you can multiply that. I mean, our population is close to 31 million now, and you are likely to have probably somewhere in the region of 500,000 people who may be earning this. So the loss of productivity is very, very significant in real dollar terms. Now, if you look at fuel consumption, I mean, your engine is running whilst you are stuck in traffic behind potholes, and it's significant when I mentioned the person who spends 3 hours each direction every day going to work. If you look at the Adenta Dodowa Road now, there are just about 5 points where you have this whole traffic along that road. Right. And if you go and observe, all of them are as a result of a few potholes. A few potholes. And what happens is, when every driver gets near the potholes, they slow down, and therefore they back up everybody else. Now the commercial drivers in particular would want to jump the traffic, and when they want to rejoin the traffic, they further slow down everybody. So whilst you are stuck in traffic, you are burning fuel. That increases your cost, personal cost of travel, and it means that, I mean, it's affecting your pocket. But also you look at vehicle maintenance. I mean, commercial drivers in particular have been highlighting this because their shock absorbers don't last. Other parts of the vehicle, I mean, have to be maintained as a result of driving through potholes. We import these spare parts with foreign exchange, and sometimes we don't realize how our cedi continues to depreciate. It's because we are importing everything. Something that we could easily avoid importing, we still have to import, because if you fix these potholes, I don't know how much it will cost to fix the 5 areas of potholes that you have on the Adenta-Dodua road. But I can tell you, if you combine the loss of productivity, fuel consumption, vehicle maintenance, people having to go to hospital as a result of their health conditions, the stress, the physical body pains, and all of that. If you compute all of these, the cost will be thousands of times the cost that highway authority will incur fixing these potholes. So the reality, but what is more worrying is the road accidents. And Joy FM over the years has reported several accidents that were a direct result of one driver trying to avoid potholes, and we've had fatalities on our road. We don't need to have this if our authorities were going to take action. Emergency services, and I cited an example. Dakuman at the time, you had a fire tender trying to respond to an emergency, and is driving like 5 kilometers per hour, maneuvering through all these potholes. I'm sure by the time it got to the destination, the place is already bent to the ground.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who needs to go to hospital, an ambulance is having to struggle through potholes. The consequences is anybody's guess. But one question I want to ask is, and Engineer Mahama can help. For most construction works, you have, let's say, 12-month period, and we take retention to make sure that whatever problems or whatever challenges are detected on the project after it has been handed over, the contractor will go back and fix this. How come, is it done in Ghana in practice? And if it is done, how come we don't have contractors going back to fix these roads when they develop potholes? Yeah. And why is it that highway authority will wait until a small pothole degenerates into a manhole and cause all this traffic that people experience on a daily basis? Yes, last night, the person I was chatting with cited, 2 potholes at Owusu Ansa Junction along the Adenta-Dodua road. These started as very small potholes, but it's not fixed, and gradually they are, enlarging and covering larger portions of the road, so everybody has to slow down quite significantly, whereas previously they could just maneuver and drive over the pothole. Now it has, those two have enlarged, and before you realize, the whole section of the road, is full of potholes, because once you drive over this or through these potholes, you also chip away the edges, and then they continue to enlarge.
Yeah.
Our authorities have to be up and doing, because this has real cost to individuals and to the nation, as I've explained.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I'm shocked at how quickly our time has run, but it just means that, of course, our conversation has to continue at another time. And you've raised some very important questions, Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako, about regulatory, lack of regulation, lack of supervision, and how indeed contractors can hand over work that is not well done. And during the retention period, during the defects period, potholes appear, but nothing is done about it. And they still take their retention at the end of the 12 months. How could these things happen? We will be talking even more about these issues. But for today, I want to say a big thank you to both of you. Engineer Abdulai Mahama is a civil engineer, roads and building consultant as well. And Kwaku Antwi-Boasiako, who is no stranger to the show, a concerned citizen. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.